Kim Il-sung, the 15th of April 1912 to 8 July 1994, was the supreme leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, commonly referred to as North Korea. For 46 years, from its establishment in 1948 until his death in 1994, he held the posts of Prime Minister from 1948 to 1972 and President from 1972 to 1994. He was also the leader of the Workers' Party of Korea from 1949 to 1994. Coming to power after the overthrow of Japanese rule in 1945, he authorized the invasion of South Korea in 1950, triggering a defense of South Korea by the United Nations led by the United States. A ceasefire in the Korean War was signed on 27 July 1953. Under his leadership, North Korea became a socialist state and had close political and economic relations with the Soviet Union, which gave the country many similarities in those respects. By the 1960s and 1970s, North Korea enjoyed a relatively high standard of living, outperforming the South, which was crippled by political instability and economic crises. Differences between North Korea and the Soviet Union made the country non-aligned in world politics. Central among these differences being Kim Il-sung's philosophy of Juche, which focused on Korean patriotism and self-reliance. Juche eventually replaced Marxism-Leninism and communism altogether. A cult of personality around Kim Il-sung came to dominate domestic politics, and loyalty to the supreme leader was a de facto condition for public office. At the Sixth Workers' Party Congress in 1980, his son Kim Jong-il, who had consolidated control over the party through the cult of personality, was selected as his heir to supreme leadership. In 1991, following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, North Korea's economy collapsed, leading to widespread poverty and famine. After transitioning his military authority to Kim Jong-il in 1993, Kim Il-sung died in the summer of 1994. His legacy is complicated by genuine admiration from older generations and the successive regimes' attempts to exploit it for legitimacy. The North Korean government refers to Kim Il-sung as the Great Leader, and he is designated in the North Korean constitution as the country's eternal president. His birthday is a public holiday in North Korea and is called the Day of the Sun. Early life. Many of the early records of his life come from his own personal accounts and official North Korean government publications, which often conflict with external sources. Nevertheless, there is some consensus on at least the basic story of his early life, corroborated by witnesses from the period. Kim's family is said to have originated from Jeonju, North Jeolla Province. His great-grandfather, Kim Ung-woo, settled in Mangyeongdae in 1860. Kim is reported by some to have been born in the small village of Mangyungbong near Pyongyang on 15 April 1912. Born to Kim Hyong-jik and Kang Pan-sok, who gave him the name Kim Song-ju. Kim also had two younger brothers, Chol-chu and Yong-ju. Kim attended the Hwasung Military Academy in Fajan in June 1926. The exact history of Kim's family is somewhat obscure. According to Kim himself, the family was neither very poor nor comfortably well off, but was always a step away from poverty. Kim is said to have claimed that he was raised in a Presbyterian family, that his maternal grandfather was a Protestant minister, that his father had gone to a missionary school and was an elder in the Presbyterian church, and that his parents were very active in the religious community. According to the official version, Kim's family participated in anti-Japanese activities, and in 1920 they fled to Manchuria. Like most Korean families, they resented the Japanese occupation of the Korean peninsula, which began on 29 August 1910. Another view seems to be that his family settled in Manchuria, like many Koreans at the time, to escape famine. Nonetheless, Kim's parents, especially Kim's mother, played a role in some of the activist anti-Japanese struggle that was sweeping the peninsula. but their exact involvement, whether their cause was missionary, nationalist, or both, is unclear. Still, Japanese repression of any and all opposition was brutal, resulting in the arrest and detention of more than 52,000 Korean citizens in 1912 alone. The repression forced many Korean families to flee Korea and settle in Manchuria. Communist and guerrilla activities. Much controversy surrounds the details of Kim's political career before the founding of North Korea, with some sources labeling him an imposter. Grigory Mekala, who allegedly prepared Kim to lead North Korea, says that Kim assumed this name from a former commander who had died. However, historian Andrei Lankov has stated that the claim that the name of Kim Il-sung was switched with the name of the original Kim is unlikely to be true. Several witnesses knew Kim before and after his time in the Soviet Union, including his superior, Zhou Baozhong, who dismissed the claim of a second Kim in his diaries. Historian Bruce Cummings argues that the depiction of Kim as an imposter parallels the North's propaganda that he single-handedly defeated the Japanese. Cummings points out that Japanese officers from the Kwantung Army have attested to his fame as a guerrilla leader. The official version of Kim's guerrilla career is believed to be heavily embellished as a part of the subsequent personality cult, particularly his portrayal as a boy conspirator who joined the resistance at the age of 14 and had founded a battle-ready army at 19. The following details of his career therefore remain in dispute. In October 1926, Kim founded the Down with Imperialism Union. Kim attended Hwasong Military Academy in 1926, but finding the academy's training methods outdated, he quit in 1927. From that time, he attended Yuan Middle School in Jilin up to 1930, where he rejected the feudal traditions of older generation Koreans and became interested in communist ideologies. His formal education ended when the police arrested and jailed him for his subversive activities. At 17, Kim had become the youngest member of an underground Marxist organization with fewer than 20 members, led by Ho-So, who belonged to the South Manchurian Communist Youth Association. The police discovered the group 3 weeks after it formed in 1929, and jailed Kim for several months. In 1931, Kim joined the Communist Party of China. The Communist Party of Korea had been founded in 1925, but had been thrown out of the Comintern in the early 1930s for being too nationalist. He joined various anti-Japanese guerrilla groups in northern China. Feelings against the Japanese ran high in Manchuria, but as of May 1930 the Japanese had not yet occupied Manchuria. On the 30th of May 1930 a spontaneous violent uprising in eastern Manchuria arose in which peasants attacked some local villages in the name of resisting Japanese aggression. The authorities easily suppressed this unplanned, reckless and unfocused uprising. Because of the attack, the Japanese began to plan an occupation of Manchuria. In a speech before a meeting of Young Communist League delegates on the 20th of May 1931 in Yenkai County in Manchuria, Kim warned the delegates against such unplanned uprisings as the 30th of May 1930 uprising in eastern Manchuria. 4 months later, on the 18th of September 1931, the Mukden incident occurred, in which a relatively weak dynamite explosive charge went off near a Japanese railroad in the town of Mukden in Manchuria. Although no damage occurred, the Japanese used the incident as an excuse to send armed forces into Manchuria and to appoint a new puppet government. In 1935, Kim became a member of the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army, a guerrilla group led by the Communist Party of China. Kim was appointed the same year to serve as political commissar for the 3rd Detachment of the 2nd Division, consisting of around 160 soldiers. Here Kim met the man who would become his mentor as a communist, Wei Zhengmin, Kim's immediate superior officer, who served at the time as chairman of the political committee of the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army. Wei reported directly to Kang Sheng, a high-ranking party member close to Mao Zedong in Yunnan, until Wei's death on 8 March 1941. In 1935 Kim took the name Kim Il-sung, meaning, Kim become the sun. Kim was appointed commander of the 6th Division in 1937, at the age of 24. Controlling a few hundred men in a group that came to be known as Kim Il-sung's division. While commanding this division he executed a raid on Pocha-in-Bo on 4 June 1937. Although Kim's division only captured a small Japanese-held town just within the Korean border for a few hours, it was nonetheless considered a military success at this time, when the guerrilla units had experienced difficulty in capturing any enemy territory. This accomplishment would grant Kim some measure of fame among Chinese guerrillas, and North Korean biographies would later exploit it as a great victory for Korea. For their part, the Japanese regarded Kim as one of the most effective and popular Korean guerrilla leaders. Kim was appointed commander of the 2nd Operational Region for the 1st Army, but by the end of 1940 he was the only 1st Army leader still alive. Pursued by Japanese troops, Kim and what remained of his army escaped by crossing the Amur River into the Soviet Union. Kim was sent to a camp at Vyatskoy near Khabarovsk, where the Soviets retrained the Korean Communist guerrillas. Kim became a major in the Soviet Red Army and served in it until the end of World War II in 1945. Return to Korea. The Soviet Union declared war on Japan on 8 August 1945, and the Red Army entered Pyongyang on 24 August 1945. Stalin had instructed Lavrentiy Beria to recommend a communist leader for the Soviet-occupied territories, and Beria met Kim several times before recommending him to Stalin. Kim arrived in the Korean port of Wonsan on 19 September 1945 after 26 years in exile. According to Leonid Vassin, an officer with the Soviet MVD, Kim was essentially created from zero. For one, his Korean was marginal at best. He had only had 8 years of formal education, all of it in Chinese. He needed considerable coaching to read a speech at a Communist Party Congress 3 days after he arrived. In December 1945, the Soviets installed Kim as chairman of the North Korean branch of the Korean Communist Party. Originally, the Soviets preferred Cho Man-sik to lead a Popular Front government, but Cho refused to support a UN-backed trusteeship and clashed with Kim. General Terentij Shtikov, who led the Soviet occupation of northern Korea, supported Kim over Pak Hong-yong to lead the Provisional People's Committee for North Korea on 8 February 1946. As chairman of the committee, Kim was the top Korean administrative leader in the north, though he was still de facto subordinate to General Shtikov until the Chinese intervention in the Korean War. To solidify his control, Kim established the Korean People's Army, aligned with the Communist Party, and he recruited a cadre of guerrillas and former soldiers who had gained combat experience in battles against the Japanese and later against nationalist Chinese troops. Using Soviet advisors and equipment, Kim constructed a large army skilled in infiltration tactics and guerrilla warfare. Prior to Kim's invasion of the South in 1950, which triggered the Korean War, Joseph Stalin equipped the KPA with modern, Soviet-built heavy tanks, trucks, artillery, and small arms. Kim also formed an air force, equipped at first with Soviet-built propeller-driven fighters and attack aircraft. Later, North Korean pilot candidates were sent to the Soviet Union and China to train in MiG-15 jet aircraft at secret bases.